Michelle Lupton here to share with you how I made this card. I actually posted a little snippet of this card on Instagram as part of Kathy Rakusen's 30-day daily marker 30-day challenge. And yeah, so I thought I'd grab it out and make another one to show you how I did it in a video. So I'm using this stamp set from Studio Cartier. It's called, what's it called? Blooming Bunch, I think. I absolutely adore the floral images that Studio Cartier has on their stamps. They're just beautiful. They have heaps and heaps of detail in them, and because of that, it would it'd take a long time to colour them using, for example, coloured pencils or trying to make it super realistic. So I just resort to my favourite technique, which is this one, which is embossing in white, and then using basically emboss resist with zig markers. So I've stamped it with Versamark, and I actually stamped it twice with Versamark, which is where the Misty comes in really handy. The reason I did it twice is because I'm using watercolour cardstock, and this watercolour cardstock from Canson is a bit textured. So I want to make sure that I get nice solid lines of the embossing. So twice with the Versamark was a good idea. I added some embossing powder from Hero Arts, their white embossing powder, and heat set it. And I don't know if you noticed, I was really good. I even remembered to use my powder tool before I stamped. Now I've just added some, I don't know the names of these colours, I apologise, but these zig markers, I've added the darker pink towards the base of each petal, and just sprayed it with heaps of water. Now I did get a little bit of pink that sort of splashed out from the edges of the flowers. That's okay, because I'm going to be using so much water on this. Those little splashes will be pretty much mopped up, and you can see I used my rag to mop up a few of the extra big splashes. But then I repeated the process, but this time I added the orangey colour towards the opposite end of the petals. So I got sort of petals that are a bit ombre, so towards the base of the petals they were pink, towards the top of the petals they were a bit orange. Now I did the same with the leaves, adding some lighter green towards the edges, darker green towards the base and in the centre. Now I didn't really want to spray again too much, because I was quite happy with the way the pink and orange was looking. So I used a water brush to spread the colour in the leaves, and I'm just adding a few little bits. There's a little bit in the middle here that I'm never entirely sure whether it's meant to be a petal or not. There's a little bit that's meant to be a stem, or at least I think it's meant to be a stem, so that's why I coloured it in green. But the bits on either side, I'm never quite sure if it's just meant to be empty space or petals. So sometimes I even just leave them blank. Anyway, I'm adding a halo of the pale blue around it, and I just wanted this to be sort of intense right up close, but then fade out pretty quickly. So I added heaps and heaps of water to sort of drag this colour out. So I've just got a little bit of a halo around the flowers. Okay, so that's the flowers pretty much finished. Just giving it a nice little blast with my heat tool to make sure it's nice and dry. And now I'm going to start on the sentiment. So the sentiment is from Birch Press. I love this stamp set because it comes with sort of larger words and then smaller ends of sentiments. But the larger words have dies that cut around them, and they cut around them quite snugly. So, excuse me, I really like the way these look. So I stamped the happy, and again I am going to white emboss that. Did you see again? I used my anti-static powder tool. Geez, I'm good. So many times I forget to use the anti-static powder tool, especially when I stamp onto black. So I'm quite impressed with myself, honestly. And the second part of the sentiment I'm stamping onto this little offcut. This cardstock, I'm not quite sure what the colour is. It's sort of a pool colour, but it's one of the old layering papers from Hero Arts. So they actually came in a pack with 3 different colours, sort of a light, medium and darker pool colour. I quite often use them as card bases. So I really like this colour. It doesn't really match any of the colours in my image, but it's sort of in between the green and the blue on the image, and I quite like that. And when I finished this card, I actually put it into a very pale pink envelope because I really like how this sort of pale pool colour goes nicely with the pale pink colour. Now, interestingly, the original card that I made of this one, which I showed you right at the beginning of this video, the flowers came out a bit paler than this one. So this one's a little bit more bright now. I'm not entirely sure if the colours... I know the colours of these zigs do fade over a period of months, because I once made a card for my mum, and she hung it up in the kitchen and it was sitting there for months and months. And when I pull it down, I thought, gee, that looks really, the colours don't look quite right. So I pulled out my photo of it when I first made it, and the colours had faded quite a bit. I don't think the colours fade over a period of just a couple of days. So I'm thinking I just added more colour to this one with my zig markers than the first one. So it's a little bit more intense, not hugely different. You'll see them side by side when I've finished putting the card together. But there is a slight difference. There's also a slight difference with the layout because I didn't quite get the placement of the floral image exactly the same. But honestly, the person who receives this card is not going to see both of the cards side by side, so it doesn't really matter. So I've just adhered those 2 halves of the sentiment using some glue from Gina K, the Gina K Connect glue, which I really like, and just adding some sequins from Pretty Pink Posh as a little final touch. So I hope you enjoyed watching me put this card together. I'm just going to show you the 2 cards side by side in a tick. And thank you very much for watching. I hope to see you again sometime soon. Bye!